Palpatine hooking up with? The kiss that almost didn't happen? We got some inside information about episode 9, and some of it's interesting, and other bits are like, why'd you tell me that? Because now I'm questioning every decision you made on this movie.
You're fulfilling your destiny.
Okay, so Marianne Brandon, who was the lady that edited episode 9, she actually edited some other Star Wars stuff too, but specifically we're talking about episode 9 in this video. Well, she's been doing interviews and she revealed a few things, including some hints about who Papa Palpatine stuck his D in. Also, that the Rey and Kylo kiss almost didn't make it into the movie, which is just weird, among other things. Also, that Lando is not a creeper, so people accusing him of that need to stop. Shame on you. So first, Brandon was asked about who was Rey's grandma, so who was Palpatine giving the D to, and while Brandon doesn't currently know, she said it's probably someone badass, and that someone behind the Emperor was even more evil and even more of a Banff Empress. I don't know about you, I'm actually really excited to see who Palpatine was giving it to, especially since it would have been, disfigured Palpatine, which I'm not saying anything about being disfigured. I think it makes him a million times sexier. I just want to know who the lucky lady was, and I could have an entire book of their relationship. Oh my gosh. A trilogy of books just about Palpatine and this woman and him just taking her to town like every single day.
Do it.
Anyways, the Kylo and Rey kiss, which depending on whether you're a Reylo or not, or whether you honestly care about who kisses who, I don't. I'm not really a shipper per se. I can't really think of any character in any sci-fi fantasy show that I was like hardcore shipping, and I don't know. But I'd also never get aggressive and make death threats if I was shipping anyone, so it's just, that whole thing's weird. And it's both sides. It's not just the shippers, it's the anti-shippers that have meltdowns too. So anyways, depending on what side you're on with the whole Reylo thing, it might be interesting to you to know that there were some edits of the film where Kylo and Rey didn't actually kiss. So this is what the editor for episode 9 said. I always said the movie will tell us whether they should kiss or not. We will know by the time we get to the end of our process if it should happen. And I felt it should, and director J.J. Abrams agreed with me, and other people who saw the film agreed. She also added on that she understands some people probably aren't happy about the kiss, saying, I know it's not for everybody. I know there will be people who wish they hadn't. But this is a film that was never going to please everyone, and I think the reviews are kind of reflective of that. The things that certain people love, other people hated, and that's the phenomenon of Star Wars. I still love Ben having his first real smile in the trilogy after he gets kissed by Rey. I thought that was adorable, but then him dying kind of sucked. Although speaking of dying, the editor for episode 9, Marianne Brandon, talked about why Ben actually died after he brought Rey back to life. So on that, she said, so she discussed that in order to save Rey, Kylo had to give up the rest of his life force to bring her back. And here is a quote about her liking that decision. She said, he got his redemption, I think, in a lovely way. And right after he disappears, his mother Leia disappears. I'd like to think that they're together. Which, honestly, I don't know if you have the same thought process. Force visions are such asses. So, yeah, Leia saw, okay, at the end of my Jedi journey, my son's gonna die. So she decided to stop training as a Jedi with her brother. And then, at the end of her Jedi journey, her son dies. It's just like Force visions just are so dangerous. And I know they tried to tell us that in the prequels and Anakin didn't listen, but dang, they did the Skywalker family dirty. I do think that Ben and Leia are together. I also think #Ben Solo lives, that something's going to happen to bring Ben back, and that, yeah, he's going to spend some time being happy with Leia and Luke and Obi-Wan, who he's named after. But I think somehow he's going to get resurrected. I have a few ideas how that's going to happen. We've already seen resurrection in Star Wars canon under Disney, so it won't be hard to do. It's just a matter of when they're going to do it because they love money. Ben Solo coming back to life is going to make them a shit ton of money. Interestingly, the editor also talked about why we didn't get more backstory on Palpatine and what he was doing and how he was around. And actually, in the film, we were supposed to get a lot more backstory and explanation, but they felt like it was just too much for the movie, which honestly, Episode 9 had so much going on in it. I know this is not a popular thing to say, and I'm really sorry for saying it, but if they would have split it into 2 movies, maybe that would have been better. I know that's just not a Star Wars thing to have part 1 and part 2, but there just was too much shit in Episode 9. Just way too much. But they ended up cutting the Palpatine explanations and more of it just because they're like, hey, there's too much going on. This is sidetracking way too much. And what I do find a bit intriguing is that if you have been following what JJ's saying, if you've been following what Marianne, the editor, well, one of the editors for Episode 9 has been saying, they reorganized Episode 9 quite a bit. So not only did they do reshoots where they added in entire scenes and dialogue about 5-6 months before the premiere, but they also heavily changed the flow of the film by adding in some stuff or cutting some stuff out. It's crazy how much the film changed through editing, which we know certain other Star Wars movies that were saved due to editing. So it's a tradition. And I think that's also why people want the JJ cut, because supposedly there's a lot more information and there's a lot more scenes. Heck, even actors and actresses have said, yeah, there's quite a bit that they cut out of this film that I wouldn't be surprised were on the Blu-ray or DVD, whatever. Every time I say Blu-ray, people yell at me. On a digital form of some kind where you watch the movie, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of deleted scenes. Jesus Christ. And speaking of cutting out a bunch of stuff from the film, I know some people were upset that there wasn't more Rose in Episode 9, and honestly, the editor said she put in as much Rose as she could. That's why she kept cutting back to her during the final battle in Episode 9, but there's more scenes that Rose is actually in that they had to cut just for time, and because JJ said, hey, I want to focus on these 3 characters being best friends and going off on this journey together, which was Finn, Poe, and Rey. And on Rose, the editor for Episode 9 said, she's an important character in the Resistance, and we tried very hard to show that in the film, and I think we did, but the film just really couldn't handle much more character stories. We all love Rose, and we want to make her character sing. And that's why she's in the end battle. And I cut to her a few times in the end battle because I know she's a fan favorite and I wanted to show her being involved. Okay, let's talk about Lando and Jannah, because I know a lot of people were freaking out thinking that Lando was being a perv and hitting on this young woman. That absolutely wasn't it. I never even got that vibe. I don't know. I mean, it can't be that I don't have like a twisted mind, because I definitely do. I just didn't see it that way. And apparently no one working on the film thought it went that way either. So they were super surprised when people were like, is Lando perving on this young orphan? This is kind of weird. Can we not do this? Yeah, he wasn't actually. So I guess it's good to have confirmation, but I never thought that's what was going on. So I don't know. You guys are dirty. So this is what Marianne said on that. I don't think it ever occurred to any of us that he was hitting on her. I think it was always fatherly, you know, help you find your way home. Yeah, it never went that way. Get your minds out of the fucking gutter, okay? Right now. Although, if you've been following the author for the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker, she has been saying how she is writing the novelization is that Lando's actually the father of Jannah and they're reunited, and I'm gonna have a separate video on that, but I guess they cut out some very important elements of Lando and why he was on Pisana, and again, I talk about that in that other video, but it's a little disappointing. At least they didn't totally trash Lando, right? Right. Lastly, she talked about Poe and Finn. I know a lot of people ship them. Going back to the whole shipping thing, I don't really care who gets together. I'd like them to be happy eventually, certainly, but I'm not banking on one person or another. So don't think that I'm dogging on or hoping for either Finn and Poe to get together. I just don't care. But the editor did talk about that and about them kind of crushing the hopes of a Poe-Finn relationship, saying they mostly just have a romance where they're just besties hanging out. We didn't really know that was a thing you guys were hoping for, but I mean, maybe in the future it can happen. I don't know. So she's trying to let you know nowhere in the films for the sequel trilogy were they trying to make Poe and Finn a romantic couple, and that they really weren't dissing anyone by not having them be a couple, and that they didn't think of them that way, and that they just think that they have a very powerful friendship. And I think they're also trying to calm people that ship them by saying, okay, please don't come at us. Maybe in the future, Lucasfilm can do this. Please, please God, don't give us death threats, because that's people's favorite thing to do when they don't like your answer, or what you say, or what you look like, or what your favorite music is, or your favorite color, or how you say a word, or because you breathe in a way that they dislike. It's very intense being a human. Oh, by the way, I want to add this on. Maz was CGI. You son of bitches.
Thanks so much for watching. Please like the video and subscribe for more Star Wars videos.